Welcome to the Note-Taking DVD. You're about to learn how to take fast, efficient and memorable notes, and even a way to take your notes into an exam without cheating. Here to share this top secret tip, Master Educator Karen Boys.
So, you want to learn the secret to note-taking? Wow, let's get started. Mind mapping is a creative note-taking technique using both the left and right side of the brain, making learning 5 times easier. It was first invented by Tony Buzan in the 1970s. So let's look at the 6 steps to creating fantastic mind maps. Let's start with looking at which way the page goes round. Please close your eyes and imagine the TV screen of your mind. Got it? Now open your eyes. Which way around does it go? Was it portrait or was it landscape? Yes, it's landscape. Having your page sideways is a much brain-friendlier way to take notes. Start with a picture in the middle of your page because your brain remembers pictures far faster than it remembers words. The picture should have at least 3 colours and it should be at around 3 to 5 centimetres high. So I'm going to demonstrate how to draw a mind map. We start with a picture in the centre, and depending on your topic will depend on what your picture is. If you're doing a biology mind map, you might start with a frog. Or if you're doing a mind map on medieval history, you might start with a castle in the middle. Today I'm going to show you a mind map on mind mapping. So I'm going to start with a picture in the middle, approximately 5 centimetres, using 3 colours. This doesn't have to be a work of art. Just something to remind you about what it is you're drawing. Now we put the branches or the subtopics, like the chapter headings in. So we might have a chapter heading for mind mapping on how do you start a mind map. Put branches in. Then I'll change colour for a new topic. And I might put a branch in about what do we need to know about the lines of a mind map. Do another branch on the words of a mind map. Notice I draw my keywords in capital letters. I'll come back to that. Then finally, I might draw another branch on the uses of a mind map. You can have many different branches depending on what your topic is and how many subtopics you have for that. Now we go back and we put some detail in. So what do we know about how to start a mind map? So let's put a curved line in. There are no straight lines in nature. So in your brain and in mind maps we always use curved lines because it's much more brain friendly. Now we're going to talk about the paper. That's the first thing we talked about on our mind map. So I print the word paper on top of that line. We talked about 2 things about the paper. One, that it needs to be landscape or sideways. And 2, that the paper needs to be blank, so that there's no lines or clutter to interrupt the information you're putting on the mind map. Also, we start with a picture, and the picture is in the middle of the page. Now notice how I'm putting the information 1 word at a time and I'm branching out like the branches of a tree. We also talked about the picture needs 3 colours, and that it should be between 3 to 5 centimetres high. Now, what about the lines? We've already talked about they need to be curved. Also, the lines always need to be connected and joined to something else. What about the words? The words, it's best for the words to be printed. It's much easier for your brain to remember the written words. So print the keywords on your mind map. We also only print the keywords. You don't need the little words like in, the, but and is. Just the keywords so your brain remembers the information. Also, it's important to put the words on top of the line. rather than underneath, because then they'll look like they've fallen off. So put them on the top of the line so your brain has an underlining for the words, so it gives them a bit of definition. Now on this mind map we're going to talk about the uses of a mind map. There are several different places you could use mind maps. You could use them at home, or you can use them at school. Now at school you might use them for notes, you might use them for planning, you might use them for planning an essay, at home you might use them for making lists, or again for planning. In fact, I planned my wedding on a mind map, so you could plan a party, you could plan a holiday, you can plan anything on a mind map. Now, one of the key parts of mind mapping is that if you missed something out, you can always go back. A lot easier to do it on a mind map than it is if you're taking traditional notes. It's hard to fit things back in. One of the things I haven't talked about in mind mapping is where to start a mind map on the actual page. Most people who do mind mapping start at the 1 o'clock. So if this is a clock, they start at this 1 o'clock place right here. So I can add to a mind map at any time, and I can write 1 o'clock. So when you look at a mind map, you generally start at 1 o'clock and then read clockwise around the mind map. Now that's another thing about the mind map and the words, is you can always add to it. And you can keep adding and adding and adding and adding different dimensions to this mind map from each of the different branches. Once you've got the key content there, you then want to add pictures and diagrams or symbols to give your mind map some personality, to give a little bit of depth and a little bit more excitement to go back and look at. So for instance, beside the word landscape, I can simply draw some pieces of paper that are landscape. Beside the word 3 colours, I might simply just take 3 different colours and draw some 3 different coloured pencils or pens. You don't have to be an artist for this, it's just a quick drawing to remind your brain about the information. Beside the word key here, I might take black pen and draw a key and colour it in yellow to make it stand out. So my brain remembers it's about the key words or the key concepts. So you keep adding and adding, adding pictures, adding depth, adding some dimensions to it to make it a really exciting mind map to go back and reread. So what about that secret technique that can take your notes into an exam without cheating? It's as simple as this. Repeat, repeat, repeat. So, what does that mean? You simply take a blank piece of paper and you repeat your mind map from memory as fast as you can. This is not a neat and tidy process. You do it as fast as you can, not finishing the words, just getting it down as quickly as possible. Just use one colour, because changing colours will slow your process. This is just how much can you remember and how fast can you remember it. Once you've done that, compare your original mind map with the quick mind map you've just made. Take a bright colour and put in the pieces you've missed very clearly. Now they're the pieces you need to learn. Now turn over and do it again. Repeat it as fast as you can, not worrying about the spelling, just getting the information down as quickly as possible. Repeat, repeat, repeat until you know the whole entire mind map off by heart. When you get into the exam, simply all you're going to do is when you're allowed to start, turn over the exam paper and repeat your mind maps on the back of your pieces of paper. Simply you have your notes in the exam and there's no cheating. The study tip is mind map my notes and repeat, repeat, repeat. Another study tip is draw symbols for faster recall. The next study tip is personalise your notes.
Thank you, Karen, for sharing those tips and also letting us into the super secret. Let's review those study tips one more time. Mind map your notes and repeat, repeat, repeat. Draw symbols for faster recall. Personalise your notes.